Hello.
Hi.
There we go.
Alright. Just had to check our audio real quick. We're gonna take a few minutes to let people know we're live.
Welcome to our pre-show.
Welcome to the pre-show. I'm gonna alert our Discord. We gotta do Twitter work here. But I'm very excited. Got our Cocos. Right now. Bring the mic a little closer. What else do we gotta do? And we'll give people a few to roll on in.
Inktober is cancelled. Here is the drawing challenge for the Songtober.
Yes, I agree. Twitter.com.
I'm about to hide from my demons.
You can just enjoy the music for now.
Yeah.
Beautiful music provided by Epidemic Sound.
Who's that?
What? Who?
Epidemic Sound.
Epidemic Sound is a paid service in which streamers can use DMC-free music. So you give them a couple bucks a month, their service, and... Huh?
15.
15? That's not bad. Give them so much money a month, and you don't get copyright struck.
Stricken.
You don't get stricken.
You don't get stroke. They won't stroke you. So sad.
Dogs Cast Monday, unless it is so true. And then it's yippee! I'm excited. So we will have the text up on the screen.
Yes.
Might wanna spin a little in case people wanna read it on the screen.
I can do that.
Okay. I'm like waiting for you to respond and you just didn't. Okay. Excited. Are we gonna be doing this every week? We're gonna try to.
Yeah, we're gonna try to.
We're gonna try to. I'm a full-time student, so we'll see. But we'll shoot for around this time on Sunday mornings. It's noon EST for us. So it might be.
So it's like perfect cozy time.
It is perfect cozy time. I was just about to say I know it's a little earlier for some other people. Yeah. Excited. Wanna introduce yourselves?
Hi everybody, my name's Jer, my pronouns are they, them, and my feet hurt.
I'm Jasper, I used to see him, I'm right here. I'm a dude. I just want to give a little bit of a context. Jer and I are both writers. I'm an English major. We've always kind of been, you know, creative kind of people. We like the reason why we wanted to do this is because we'll get in the car and we'll just babble about like things we're reading or things we're working on that, you know, if you know us, we have Hobby and Studios project, we ramble about that all the time, and just our creative process and kind of what we're doing thematically in our work. Sometimes with that comes the discussion of what other writers do thematically in their work, and what inspires us to be writers, what we kind of look at in other writing, what we kind of steal, for lack of a better term, and things that, you know, just, like I said, inspire us. And there's a couple of like key artists we are inspired by, and Poe is definitely one of them. I mean, you literally have a character named Edgar
Which was named unrelated to Edgar Allan Poe.
No, but I think it's funny because
Yeah.
then you also have a character named Nevermore in that as
Yeah,
well.
that was on purpose.
Yeah.
I named Edgar, and then you were like, haha, Poe, and I was like, oh yeah, Poe. I was like, oh, Nevermore. We're like, oh!
I gotta pull the stream up. Oh. Oh, okay. Wanna get on? Get on with it?
Look, last month you stayed within budget for 0 out of 2 categories. Nice job. Yeah, good job, Jer. Pat myself back for that.
Any other places we can send this?
Almost done. Dummy.
Don't eat it. You. Oh yeah, you did. What did you have? You don't know.
An egg?
I shouldn't mess up your stomach that bad.
No, it's the tea.
Oh. Don't drink it. And simply perish.
I just got acid reflux. I constantly deal with it. That's my life. Grow up.
Grow up. Almost out of cocoa already.
Well, good thing you can make more.
Could. I could.
We have a cocoa bar provided to us by myself. Thank you.
Not sponsored?
Sure.
What?
I don't know if stream heard. But
I wasn't talking.
there's ECOHO just went off.
My Alexa.
Yeah.
My Icho.
The Alexa that doesn't the name Alexa just went off.
Ugh.
And we didn't say the name, so I don't know how that happened. There we go. That's a There are all kinds of noises. I think we're haunted.
Echo, turn yourself off. I guess so.
Alright, do we want to get going here?
So, welcome to the first episode of Books by Brunch. We're gonna go through a little rundown of what's gonna happen. We're going to go through some different notes that we have and discussion points. We're gonna talk about them and see where the discussions take us. Audience members are welcome to participate and contribute in their own ways, and we can discuss what audience members think. And we are thinking about trying to get this on Spotify.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, or Spoofy, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I've never been there, so.
We have the text in front of us.
Means you have the text in front of us.
You're welcome to read along. We are using the Poe Museum website. I'll link it in the chat right now.
We're going to aim to try and find as many public domain works as we can, and we can follow along with them. If not, then we'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Because there are some modern plays that we're going to do.
Yeah.
Specifically The Inheritance, but that's not for a couple weeks.
The Inheritance will be hard to find, but although it is available on Amazon. Twitch mobile chat is broken, so I have to highlight every message. I'm going to apologize in advance for anything I say. I've been awake for all of 10 minutes and I'm kind of sleep drunk. That's okay. I apologize about Twitch being all funny. But thank you for joining us. And nothing anyone will ever say is stupid. I think sometimes
any question is a good question.
No, yeah, of course. Excuse me. So yeah, if you have any questions, have anything you want to add, please
took
don't
away
be
our
afraid.
gay ADHD.
Huh?
Took away our gay ADHD.
Sure
I
did.
see you, Twitch.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, thank you for joining us. Alright, where do we want to start?
Alright, let's pull up our little handy-dandy notes. I think our first topic is a history of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes.
We can go, like, little bullet points. We didn't write out the bullet points, but we have them available to us.
Yeah.
By the way, the Poe Museum also has a biography of Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
Born January 19th, that's very important to know.
It is, yeah.
It's very important to know, but if you don't remember it, that's fine.
Edgar Allan Poe was born in our neck of the woods. He was born in Boston and grew up in Richmond, Virginia?
Yes.
Yeah.
His
He's a New England
dad
guy.
abandoned the family, the 3 kids, and the mother died of
Tuberculosis!
Woo! Tuberculucky.
What year is that? 1809. Okay.
Tuberculucky.
Yeah. So tuberculosis is a common cause of death during that time.
December 8th, 1811 is when she died, leaving behind 3 children. His parents were the Poes, and he was adopted by the Allans. Or, not officially adopted, which is why he is Allan Poe.
Yeah. Basically hyphenating that last name, so to speak.
Grew up as an upper-class elite. But then he struggled with finances the rest of his life. That's not important. When he was 17, he went and attended the University of Virginia, where he met Elmira.
No, he did not meet Emila. He left behind.
He left her behind, you're right.
Left behind his fiancée to go to university.
Yeah.
And while he was at university, they just didn't end up working out. I believe that the
when he went, he was stupid.
No, the father-in-law intercepted the letters, too.
Yeah.
Which kind of caused their relationship to fail. And then when he came back, it was just like, this isn't gonna work out.
Because she married somebody else.
Yeah.
I like the little fact that he went to college with $110 for tuition, and then tuition was 3 times that, and he said, fuck it.
So that's only $300.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
For
no.
tuition?
Yeah. So he tried to get his money back. He tried to get enough money through gambling, but ended up with $2,000 of debt.
That sounds like something you would do.
Oh, I would absolutely do that. Blah, 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 blah. Moved to Boston. He published his first poetry, Tamerlane and Other Poems, under the pseudonym of a Bostonian.
I think that's so interesting.
Yeah. He then served in the army for a while. He went pretty high up in the army. He became a sergeant. And when he went to West Point, he had trouble with, guess what?
Money!
Money! Moved to Baltimore, moved in with relatives, including his aunt and her daughter, Virginia. Lived there for 4 years. And he started writing short stories. And, then he married his cousin.
Yippee!
He was 13 at the time.
Yeah, he was 27, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just kind of something that happens, I guess.
An interesting thing to note is that historians aren't entirely sure what the nature of their relationship even was.
Because,
on paper, apparently they were married, but by all, historical counts, it appears that they just had a familial relationship. Very
odd.
Yeah, there's not much we can really say about that, because we don't...
There's only so much we know, you know?
Yeah.
1809's a long time ago. It's
but the fact that she was 13 still remains.
Yeah, it might have been like a... I don't want to say a tax benefit thing.
Actually, it might have been.
I mean, if he was struggling that bad,
Yeah.
you know? I don't know why you'd choose a 13-year-old cousin, but...
Because who else is gonna marry
Well, I
you?
mean, it doesn't end up mattering because she dies of guess what?
Tuberculosis! But that's not for a little bit. He wrote his first horror story.
At Zergerstein.
It's Zengerstein. He got a job at the Messenger, moved back to Richmond. And blah blah blah, got married when he was in Richmond. Blah blah blah, they stabilized him, blah blah blah. He went on to live in Philadelphia, where he wrote Telltale Heart, Mask of the Red Death, The Black Cat, The Pit and the Pendulum, The Gold Bug, The Fall of the House of Usher, The Murders of the Rue Morgue, and more. Now, interesting thing about Murders of the Rue Morgue is that it is cited as the first modern detective story.
Yep.
Murders of the Rue Morgue actually inspires Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's character Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
So that's
I didn't know
that's
that.
something that he doesn't get any credit for.
I didn't know that at all.
Is basically inventing the detective genre.
Because people think it's Sherlock that invents it. I just find that so incredibly interesting.
He pioneered science fiction, actually.
We have a lot to thank this man for, actually.
Most of his stories were actually comedies, not horror. He is known for his horror because he revolutionized the genre of horror by adding in more human elements.
Yeah. Which is also interesting, considering that he also works in the science fiction genre as well.
Does he fall under Gothic?
I don't think so. Because Gothic is technically tends to be British literature, or European literature, and he's actually an American writer. You know, I mean, usually Gothic literature has like the supernatural elements, and there's different like kinds of tropes and themes that you see in Gothic literature. I'm not. I would say yes and no.
Oh, do y'all have your cocos, by the way?
Yeah, make sure you have your sweaters and your cocos.
If you don't have your cocoa, then please check under your chair. It might be there.
The thing about Gothic literature is that it usually tends to be more about the supernatural, whereas a lot of Poe's work tends to be more about, you know, like it says here, that the monsters are like the evil inside of us, and like the human element of horror. Whereas a lot of Gothic stuff tends to be more about the supernatural elements that people were genuinely scared of at one point. You know, and I think that's kind of where Frankenstein kind of starts to come in, of a combination of both of those things, because it does have both the human element and the real science fiction element. But that's neither here nor there. We're not talking about Frankenstein today, but we will at some point.
Possibly next week or the week after.
We'll see.
Well, we'll get a schedule for you guys eventually.
Yeah.
Anyway, then came the publication of The Raven.
Yes.
Which, interestingly enough, only made $15.
But it did, basically make him an overnight success.
In its entire run of publication, he only garnered about $15.
I mean, $15 is probably a lot more than we know $15 to be. If college was only $300, which for some people is more than an entire week's worth of paycheck, you know, like...
College also... My mom, when she went to college, it was about $300.
And that's not even that long ago,
no,
you know? Not. A semester, though. We're talking tuition.
Yeah.
It's just, very interesting.
Every time was about $300. Virginia died at 24 from tuberculosis.
Yep. 1847?
He drifted back to Richmond, where he met up with Elmira.
Yes, that's...
And they got married for a time.
I don't believe they were related.
No, they weren't.
They were not.
She was wealthy now, though.
Yes.
Poe's last day, Richmond, Virginia,
I find this so
was
weird.
September 26th.
1949.
Elmira was worried about his health, and he went to go visit a doctor. Disappeared on September 27th, and not seen again until October 3rd. So today, October 2nd, is one of the days that there is no record of Edgar Allan Poe's whereabouts.
That's so interesting.
On the 3rd, he was found on Election Day, in a tavern where he was drunk and wearing someone else's clothes. Taken to the hospital, and he later died on October 7th. There are a lot of theories about how he died. One of my favorite ones was discussed in BuzzFeed Unsolved.
I was gonna mention the BuzzFeed Unsolved episode, yeah.
I say favorite, but it is pretty grim. that he was being used for voter fraud.
Yeah.
A bunch of dudes, like, got him drunk and beat him up, and then kept changing his clothes.
So that they could keep... like,
having him vote because you didn't need voter registration at the time.
Yeah.
You just showed up and you voted. So they used him for voter fraud. Which is a very interesting concept of how Mr. Edgar Allan Poe died.
Yeah.
Oh, we just reconnected to chat.
Are we good? We didn't go off
No,
line, did we? No.
I don't think so. Is everybody still here? Or is anybody still?
I saw Henry, my beloved, in chat.
we're
Okay,
good.
yeah. So yeah, I just the death of Edgar Allan Poe is so interesting.
Yeah.
So, like, considering basically all the things he wrote and all the mystery behind him as a person, death. It's just so interesting. I do that voter fraud thing.
Yeah. Edgar Allan Poe was also one of the first American writers to be able to live entirely off of his earnings.
Good for him.
As a writer.
Good for him.
Though, he also did struggle financially forever.
Ever, yeah.
So, says a lot. The first writer struggled.
Yeah. I think all writers struggle.
Where do you find your cocoa? Try checking under your sheets.
It could be, under your mattress?
The little cocoa fairy came last night and sprinkled cocoa on your eyes. So check your eyes, too.
Yeah.
Alright, do we want to get into the Telltale Heart?
Alright, yes.
Okay.
One of my favorite Poe stories. For sure. There's, a couple of... Alright. So, we've talked about Poe. Now we have the Telltale Heart, which is a first-person narrated story, with a very interesting narrator. We have the text in front of us. We're zoomed in a little, but...
I can zoom in again.
Ooh!
Is
Maybe
that
the
good?
real Coco is the friends we made along the way. Very true. Alright. So, where do we start?
Well, we
I'll
have our first notes.
I'll also drop
we
the
have
link
right.
again, just if
Yes.
someone wants to follow along with us.
This is also an audiobook.
Yeah, there is audio, you can read it. Okay. So, if you didn't read it, I'll give you a little bit of a gist. Telltale Heart is this man who, for lack of a better term, murdered a dude. He...
Wait.
What?
Is it a man?
Is it a man? Okay.
I don't think we can actually...
Well, the only kind of
actual
key
clue
point is mad men know nothing. But this person is claiming they are not a madman. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Point is, this first-person narrator was driven to homicide by this old man that they lived with, or lived near. I was a little confused on where this person was living and if they were living with this man. But they are driven to kill this man because of his evil eye. So what he does is he goes into the man's chamber at night, and basically kills him with a mattress, and then chops the body up and puts it under the floorboards. The police come by, they hear screaming, and this person is like, I'm cool, I didn't kill a man. And of course, the human mind is so vulnerable that, you know, they end up being like, alright, I did it, I killed the dude, take me away. And this story is basically a retelling of that, of those events from this person's perspective. The interesting thing about Telltale Heart is, it brings about the question, and Named, you were actually talking about this in chat a couple nights ago, about the state of the human mind, how fragile the human mind is, and what it means to be mad, I guess. And what, do mad men know that they are mad? Are madmen able to tell a story just like this with as much clarity as they are doing so? And,
Well, before we get into what makes a madman mad, we should talk about who is the narrator and who is the old man. Because you went through it very fast.
I'm sorry.
But there is stuff to talk about there.
Yeah.
With this revelation that it doesn't specify whether, like, the gender or anything about the narrator.
We do not know a lot about this narrator. We only get so much, and we get a little more about this man that they kill. So they're very much... They don't believe they are mad, and they're trying to basically prove that point. Okay, here's the part about the man. Madman know nothing. I was never kinder to the old man than during the week before I killed him. I love that line. Every night about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it, oh so gently, and then when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, so that no light shone out, and I thrust my... Okay, where are... Here it is. Okay, I just went... I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. He had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, it was this. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture. Pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. So by degrees, very gradually, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, thus rid myself of the eye forever.
So the only facts that we know about them...
I don't think it ever says, like...
We don't have any actual facts about the narrator.
No.
There's not a single fact, there's only speculation.
We can infer certain things based on the way they speak, the way they act, and the way in which they tell this story. But we don't get anything. I don't know where you got the idea that they lived. Where does it say that?
It doesn't.
You just inferred that.
It's an inference because, I mean, they're in the same building.
My guess is that they were neighbors.
Night after night, they're in the same building. Then why would the narrator be in that house when the cops show up?
Well, because the narrator's like, oh, he's on holiday. I'm watching the house. Something to that effect.
That's a lie.
That's a lie,
That's
yeah.
a lie.
Well, I mean, he went to the Andrew Garfield School of Lying.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, nothing's wrong. The screams you heard, oh, that just happened.
Took my visitors all over the house. It doesn't even say my house.
Yeah.
Unless it says it somewhere else.
I don't think it does. And this is when he,
There are so few actual facts that we know about this story.
Yeah. We don't get, like... I was never kinder to the old man than the week before I killed him. That's the only status quo we really get.
Yeah.
Is right there. We don't know where this takes place. We don't know, like, this person's name, their job, are they married? Like, do these people live together? I assume they live in the same town, or is this a city? Like, there's so much we don't know.
It might be a city because they...
Every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it. Which makes me think that they don't live in the same...
No, that makes me think they live in the same house.
Really?
Yeah, the latch of the door to his bedroom.
Okay,
Because we get no other information about that being a house other than it is the latch to a bedroom. The narrator knows where the tub is, the narrator knows the way around the floorboards and everything, and around the house, so that makes me assume that person at least takes care of the old man.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe like a caretaker of some sort, and they must know each other in some capacity. I loved the old man. Object there was none, passion there was none. For his gold I had no desire. So maybe he's wealthier, but it's the eye, dude. It's the eye. Ah. Pale blue eye with a film over it. So basically, this person is just like, he's scary.
Yeah. Yeah, he's scary. I killed him.
I was never kinder to him than the week before I killed him. So we don't know a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's an old man and it's this time, we probably assume that he's probably gonna die of TB at any point.
Yeah.
But, lo and behold, killed early. Yeah. We don't know much. We don't really get other visual components other than the eye. We don't get any, like, look at these people other than the blue eye, the pale blue eye with a film over it. Sick Rapture reference, am I right? Anyway. Yeah. And there must be something about this eye, that basically puts him over the edge. You don't get much else. Now, what I find interesting is this person, this murderer, they must have some sort of, I don't want to say knowledge on killing people, but they
know how to effectively dismember somebody.
Exactly. Say something about it. No, that was in the bio. I'm wondering if there's some sort of, like, medical influence. We really can't know. We can only infer things like that. Okay. So, old man is scary. We don't really know much else about him. He seems like a cool dude. Because I think, like, just to, like, kind of reference another work for a second, like, Cask of Amontillado, there is a motivation in the Cask of Amontillado.
Yeah.
The guy's an asshole, you know? The guy's an asshole. The fool, he's a clown. Of course I'm gonna lock him in a wall and let him rot there. But this is so...
Ocular tuberculosis. There is something called ocular tuberculosis.
Uh-huh.
Infection that can occur in or around the eye. Occur without clinical evidence of pulmonary tuberculosis.
What does it make the eye look like?
It can affect any tissue of the eye, sometimes without characteristic manifestation. No uniform diagnostic criteria. See. Because that would be very... Okay.
The difference between that and cataracts, I was just wondering the same thing.
Yeah. Cataracts.
This sounds like cataracts. So yeah, he's blind. It scares me.
Cataracts definitely does that.
The blue?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like blinding, right?
But ocular tuberculosis can also do that. It can do the same thing.
Okay.
And
love TB.
with Poe as a writer, it would honestly make sense if it was
TB.
Ocular tuberculosis, as it is something that he's constantly...
Yeah. Much to think about.
So, what is the cause of the eye is another question.
I mean...
Well, was this man going to die in a few days because of his eye? Or...
I don't know, I feel like he would have mentioned that. Or maybe not, because
No, because this is a what kind of narrator?
First-person narrative. We're...
Unreliable.
Yes, unreliable, but, yeah, because we're getting this filtered through his lens. We're getting Because what would happen if we told this story from the man's perspective, the old man's perspective? No.
Well, it'd only go halfway.
Well, I realize that, but like, what would the old man notice about this narrator's kindness to him?
Yeah.
And how, like, if there were some sort of afterlife in which the old man could tell his perspective from, you know? Because the inference with this beginning here is that we're getting this story probably from some sort of jail or, you know, containment. He's nervous to tell it, but why will you say that I am mad? The disease has sharpened my senses, not destroyed, not dulled them. Above all was the sense of hearing a cue.
Figured it may have been an old nasty glass eye when I read this in 8th grade. That is
the only thing
definitely
is
a possibility
the film
too.
makes me think that
because we also don't know anything about the other eye.
That's the thing too. It's only one of them. That's a good point. One of them. Because if it was something like ocular TB or cataracts, would it affect both, or just would it affect
It can
one?
affect only one some.
Really? Okay, that's good to know. Hi, Colton. We're talking
You're
about
at work.
We're talking about ocular tuberculosis. Okay. Yeah.
So we've established a lot of these things. The eye could be tuberculosis, cataracts, or a glass eye. We know nothing about this narrator. We do not know.
They're nervous.
We do not know a gender. Not know a social status. We do not know the relationship between the narrator and the old man, even.
Possible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me at night. Object there was none, passion there was none. So this is really a... He says there's no passion, however.
The reason we believe our narrator to be a man is because it is written by a man.
Yeah. And just this...
The phrase
madmen.
But also,
But you
wouldn't say mad
me.
women.
Where are the
Madman
mad
is just
women?
Madman is just the overall term. You wouldn't have used a different form of it because the idea of changing up gendered terms is a more recent thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like male man to male person.
Yeah. That is... Oh.
There's no actual indication of our gender.
Yeah.
Not our writer.
Narrator.
Narrator talks about when it fell on them, one eye went independently.
Ooh, it doesn't say. One of his eyes.
It would be further down. It would be when he was about to kill. Or when the narrator.
Oh wait, because when he kills him, when they kill him,
but I think
his eye is open.
I think that's specifically referring to the light falling on the eye.
It was open. No, you're right. It fell upon the vulture eye. It was open,
a single
wide
dim ray.
open. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I directed the ray as if by instinct precisely upon the damned spot.
So, we've gone through the little details. We picked apart at our little details. Now it's time for the big question. Is the narrator mad? My opinion? Yes. I think the narrator is, like, has some sort of possibly sociopathic tendency. And the idea of that repetition, there is a misattributed quote. I don't know who it actually was because Google fucking died when I tried to look it up. But it's attributed to Albert Einstein that insanity is doing the same task over and over again, expecting different results. And each night, our narrator went to the room, opened the door in the same manner, and just stared for 7 nights. Till the 8th night, when something changed. There was a result change, and the old man was looking at them. And that triggered the act. But we don't know how long this narrator would have kept doing the same thing before actually making them killing the old man. Looking up.
I'm trying to find out who said that quote.
Yeah.
It was not Einstein.
No, it wasn't. It's misattributed. Google decided to die, so.
Rita Mae Brown, who I read a novel of hers in my gay literature class. In her 1983 book Sudden Death.
And I think one of the things that really seals this idea of, I guess the sociopathic tendency, the best word that I can think of right now, is that the narrator seems to hunt the old man night after night, waiting for a different change, and takes thrill in the killing and the butchering, much like a dangerous game, the most dangerous game, which I wanted to bring up. Fun fact, that was released on Edgar Allan Poe's birthday. January 19th. Which we'll probably do a stream on that at some point.
I've never read it, so
Yeah.
I will need to...
Yeah, we will. And what is your stance?
I don't think so. I wrote a paper on this, one of my American literature classes. I just don't know if they truly were mad, and I understand that it's kind of their point in which why they are telling this is to prove they are not. I don't know how, with as much composure as they tell it, they would be able to, like...
But is the
calmly
narrator...
I can tell you the whole story. The acute senses, I think they're just suffering from, you know, the anxious kind of mentality of the human mind.
But I don't think that the narrator tells the story calmly.
I think they do until a certain point.
They, throughout...
and it's the very end.
Completely irrational.
I think it's this part.
They become irrational much before.
No.
Yes.
No, I think they're pretty concise. They're drawn to smaller details, but I think that's them trying to prove that I can pay so much attention to this little thing. I can tell you it just as I saw it. Would a madman be able to do? Madmen know nothing, but you should have seen me. Should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation I went to work. And then, of course, my favorite line, I was never kinder to the old man than the week before I killed him. I don't know. Would a madman have been able to be as wise as this? This person is incredibly smart. And they know it. I just don't know if a madman would have been able to go about it in the way that they did, premeditated in a way, even though they claim that there was no passion. They thought about it, you know?
The passion that was none is very interesting. Go up to it. Because, no, it's clearly not a crime of passion. It wasn't done in the moment. It's premeditated. But it's also referring, there was no driving force other than the eye. They say, there was no passion to why I did this, but there is his eye. I really hated it.
Well, Named is also bringing up a good point. Is madness or really you are, you're not kind of thing? Would a madman be able to recognize his own seemingly mad tendencies? That's my thing.
Yeah.
Is he knows he looks bad, and he knows it. But I don't think if he was truly mad, he would try to defend himself. Because I think he'd be too off his rocker by that point to have the ability to defend himself. How could he be mad when he's saying the first word is true? He knows he looks bad, you know?
It should be stated that there are no right answers here.
Oh no, this is just purely speculation.
The only person who can tell us that is...
Dead!
Edgar Allan Poe! Now
Oh my
please
God,
welcome our
he's here.
next guest, Edgar Allan Poe. It's so nice to see you.
And we haven't even talked about
I do
the
think it's a
scene in
lot of
which
saving face, though.
It could be. It very well could be.
It's also how do you define madness? Because Victor Frankenstein, he is a very well-composed narrator.
I agree.
But he goes mad throughout the story. The story is about how he goes mad.
Yeah.
I think this reflects that. Do you think that by the end of the story, that is a composed person?
No, but do you think it's possible that a person who isn't mad can have, you know, a bit of an anxious breakdown? Because I think that's what this is. It's possible that, you know, this is a composed person until a certain point. I just don't know if this particular kind of breakdown constitutes that. Because of course by the end he's, you know, kind of going
He
ham.
got rabies by the end.
I wouldn't...
The narrator
Rabies.
has rabies. I foamed, I raved, I swore. I had rabies.
And this kind of refutes the point that there's no passion, because if he wasn't passionate about this, would he be having this kind of reaction?
Yeah.
No. I think this is just the human mind trying to reconcile with a very grave mistake and, you know, reacting out of pocket in result, you know?
Out of pocket?
Out of pocket, yeah. I think this is just human mind getting its due comeuppance.
Yeah.
He's I wouldn't say going mad here. I think this is more of just a nervous kind of response, because the second word in this story is nervous. Nervous.
Nervous.
Oh, nervous. It's scrolling itself. I don't know why it's nervous. He tells it pretty calmly until that certain point, which the nervousness gets him. I think there's a difference between being mad and being nervous. He knows he did a bad thing. He killed somebody. And for maybe very little reason, but a reason nevertheless, he had one.
See,
or claimed he did.
My stance is that a person in a healthy mental state would not be driven to kill someone that they loved because of their eye.
Did he love him? I guess he did. Or at least he claimed
I
he
loved
did.
the old man.
But we know that this man went to the Andrew Garfield School of Lying.
Yeah.
And what if you're right about the saving face thing, but he's also not telling us everything about the old man?
Yeah. The motive is so weak to have been... Hello, Jade.
Thank you for the
The motive is literally just, I really hated the way that his eye looked. And so I killed him. Is that an action that a person of a healthy mental state would take? In your opinion?
Well, what constitutes a healthy mental state?
I don't know, not murdering someone?
Perhaps. I'm not saying that this guy isn't fucked up. He's fucked up, and he did a wrong thing. I think he's...
It's how far do we define madness?
I think he's too precise. He's incredibly intelligent, and
well,
he
most
tells
serial
the story...
killers are very precise, aren't they?
Yes.
And would you define most serial killers as being mad in some capacity?
Some of them.
I think killing somebody for...
Do you think the act of killing someone alone makes you... Mad?
Pretty much. That's my opinion. Unless
Well,
it's like a
well-deserved
well-deserved thing. Like, if you killed someone because they killed your whole family, I don't know, I think that's deserved, but also then you kill for revenge, and did the revenge drive
Then you're
you
getting
mad?
into semantics.
You're getting into semantics. But, like, if I just walked down the street and I saw some dude that I knew from my childhood and his eye looked fucked up and I just killed him, would you call me mad?
No, I'd call you a horrible person. Well, that's another thing, too.
What's the difference between being a horrible person and being mad? What the fuck did I do?
Because you can be a horrible person and be relatively sane.
Yeah.
But can you be mad and be a good person? Yes. This guy is not an example of it.
Whoa, thank you, Neko Nick. Yeah, I think it comes a lot to many of the ideas presented in Frankenstein of
Would a
victors.
madman be so wise as this?
Yes. Yes, they would. Because Victor Frankenstein. Victor Frankenstein, the story of Frankenstein, is a story about a man that goes mad by his own actions and his own deeds. And he is concise and to the point throughout the entire story. He is well composed and intelligent and wise.
Is it possible?
I don't actually have a real opinion.
Devil's advocate here.
Devil's advocate.
No, do you think it's possible that we can only assume that this is the... I don't know, though. I can assume that this guy maybe knows how to kill people and has knowledge of an anatomical standpoint to know how to chop up a body and hide it. But do you think this is the first time this person is killed?
No.
No, I think it is.
I don't think it was on purpose. I think
You think there was an accidental killing?
Yes.
Well, let's...
Judging by the fact that this person had the precognition to hide the body in a tub to cut it up. Understanding the way that a body is cut up.
That might just be common sense.
Would you think to do
that?
that?
To do it in a tub, yeah.
Okay.
To like, you know, be able to wash the blood and stuff.
I
wouldn't think to put it under the floorboards, probably.
I think that this person is possibly a doctor or somebody of anatomical knowledge.
That's what I'm thinking.
And so if they have killed prior, I think it would have been accidental, and it would have been some sort of medical malpractice.
I love Victor Frankenstein. We know you love Victor Frankenstein. Why don't you marry him?
I can't, because he daughtered his sister cousin. Just like Edgar Allan Poe. But no, I don't think it would have been on purpose. I think it would have been some sort of accident.
First kill is always the hardest, what I've heard. That's why he has such such nervous reaction to it. Because I think
the nervous reaction is to the ticking.
I think because it's loaded with guilt. We haven't even touched the surface of how we haven't gotten into the actual killing of this dude yet.
But the actions of the narrator up until the ticking starts is just like, oh yeah, hi.
Because it's a reminder that this is a man who once lived.
Yeah.
And I think that's guilt.
When the officers come and they start cheerily talking, the narrator is cheery with them for a while.
Yes.
And is responsive, in a good mood, chipper, until the point that the ticking starts, and then the guilt
Garfield
sits
School
in.
of Lying.
Is it that the kill itself is what drove the guilt, or is it the ticking?
No, because the ticking is, like I said, the reminder. Because it reminds him of the heartbeat. We haven't gotten into that yet.
Which leads us to our next statement in this discussion. What is the ticking? Is it the heart? Or is it a bug? Ticking was just the trigger, not a true cause of the nervousness. Ticking represented his time. Narrator perceived the ticking is what makes me think the narrator is mad. So here's the thing about the ticking.
Kind of fine.
Control F it. I literally said Control
No,
F.
it's right there. It's right there.
Okay.
Alright. I kept quite still and said nothing. So he's gone into the chamber, and he's basically watching this dude sleep, and the dude is like, wakes up and hears something. Like, hears him. I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle, and in the meantime I did not hear him lie down. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I have done, night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall.
Alright. This is going to bring us off of this,
madness talk.
Not just the madness talk, but off this website.
Well, keep it in a,
yeah.
That's an important line. That's a very
Death
important
watches.
line. Move your cocoa. Death watches.
There's actually a beetle. If my internet were working. Well, there's a beetle. They're known as Death Watch beetles. And they make ticking sounds. And they bore themselves into walls and lumber and different... But, yeah. Something's up with the fucking internet, I guess. So I guess we're not leaving the page. Anyway, they make like a...
They make a ticking noise. We were gonna probably show you what they looked like and what they sound like, but the computer's not entirely responsive at the moment. But you can Google it. They're called Death Watch beetles. They're these gross little green...
Hi, bunny.
Oh, thank you for the resub. Thank you. They're these gross little brown bugs, and they make a ticking noise. And the question is, because it comes back up again at the end when he starts hearing the what he calls the heart, or
when committing the actual murder, which we gotta talk about that.
Yeah, we haven't even. There's so much. But this is after he kills the dude, and the cops have come in. He hears a noise, and he thinks it's like a ringing in his ears. The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. Talked freely. It continued and gained definitiveness. Until at length I found that noise was not within my ears. It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such a sound as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton.
That gets mentioned multiple times. Before committing the actual crime, it gets mentioned that specific phrase, a watch wrapped in cotton. But also, it might not be Death Watch beetles. It might be, woodworms.
Yes.
Because I had looked up those as well when I was trying to find common furniture beetles. They are the larvae of different wood-burrowing beetles. Not exactly just Death Watch.
Yeah.
But the sound they make when they eat is like a...
Yeah.
But from inside of the wall.
Yeah.
Death Watches come out of the wall.
But it says in...
Yeah.
I'm thinking that, like, this is deliberate, a deliberate choice on Poe's part, but also just probably choosing Death Watches in particular because of their name.
Yeah.
But also evoking the idea of, you know, insects and wood-burrowing beetles and stuff like that do make that ticking noise, because if we could show you, you know what we mean. It
is also believed that Death Watches were an omen of death. That if you heard them, somebody in that house is soon to die.
There's a couple of references. There's the Death Watches, there's a reference to cricket right here. Mouse. There's a couple of references to, like, different animals as well. The vulture eye, dread of a spider. There's a lot of animal imagery in this. So I think it's absolutely deliberate, and also a smart choice on Poe's part. Because of the noise they make, because of the word Death Watches.
Yeah.
I think it's just a very smart and deliberate choice. But it does raise some very interesting questions with the circumstances. But
I wonder.
Are you gonna try and play it on your phone?
Yeah, try and play on my. Alright, I'm gonna.
Turn the music down, maybe? Is the music wicked loud? No music.
Alright, no music.
I feel like the music might have been a little loud, so I'm just
Unless you can still hear the music. Alright. Death Watch Beetle, as stated by Wikipedia, is a species of wood-boring beetles that sometimes infest the structural timbers of old buildings. Adult beetle is brown and measures on average centimeters or 7 millimeters or 0.3 inches long. Eggs are laid in dark crevices in old wood, inside buildings, trees, and inside tunnels left behind by previous larvae. Larvae bore into the timber, feeding for up to 10 years before pupating and later emerging from the wood as adult beetles. Timber that has been damp and is affected by fungal decay is soft enough for the larvae to chew. They obtain nourishment by using enzymes present in their gut to digest cellulose and cellulose in the wood. Okay. Alright, I think stream caught that. That is what a Death Watch beetle sounds like. The interesting thing is, as Henry just asked, do they always tick at that pace? Bugs are usually very meticulous in how they sound.
Yeah.
So that is most likely how they will always sound with some variation. But it also could be Edgar Allan Poe taking liberties to be like, yeah, that can sound like a heartbeat. You know?
Yeah, I think it's... Death Watch is just the words themselves evoke a certain image. He would know what they sound like, and, you know, like you said, taking liberties and be like, alright, I can stretch this a little bit, you know?
So the interesting thing is, later, when the officers are there, they're not reacting to it. But also, does everybody react to a cricket if they're not thinking about it?
Yeah, true.
But
he's on high alert.
He's on high alert. So he hears it, and he's like, it has to be the heart. Even though he already mentions the Beatles.
Yeah, because he knows they're there.
Can you go down to, keep going. The very end.
The very end?
Yeah.
We haven't even gotten into the killing.
The
killer!
Up a bit. There. I fancied a ringing in my ears.
Well, that also...
That is interesting, because a heartbeat isn't ringing.
What's also interesting is the word fancied.
Yeah.
Fancied, during this time, has to do with imagination. The word fancy...
You're right.
In this time period does not mean, like, I fancy that as in, like, I like it more. It means to fancy something is to imagine. Fancy is imagination. Very interesting. Because I think this is him trying to be like, alright, my mind's just playing tricks on me. I know I look mad. I know my mind is doing things.
Well, because he says, I found that noise was not within my ears. So, that's the imagination of, there's just a ringing in my ears. And then, it's the realization that it is the ticking.
No, that's real. Because that, again, plays to... Do madmen know that they are mad? No, they do not.
Yeah.
Because they have a reality that is just... that they see as real.
Yeah.
That might not be real to other people.
Yeah. I am of the belief that the sound that the heart makes doesn't actually exist. I'm in the camp of that is not a sound created by guilt, but it is a guilt reaction to a sound that is heard.
Okay.
I think it's a bug.
I think it's the bug too. I think it's the bug, but I think it's because he's so nervous and because he's been so composed and now he's kind of starting to lose that composure. I think it is a guilt. And it reminds him that, oh my god, I just killed somebody. And I think it's a bit of a delayed, like, you got over the adrenaline of doing it, and you've done it, and it's gone, and now you just have to be composed for just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And then you hear something. And you have this reaction to it. And you're like, oh! You know?
Yeah.
And this is where the nervous
A
breakdown
bug,
kinda
hope
starts.
gets patched soon.
Where the nervous breakdown.
Yeah. But, you know, if it's a bug, then our narrator isn't mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're contradicting yourself.
Yeah. Well, because I took the stance of the narrator being mad so that we had something to
talk
debate.
about. Well, because he's probably really hearing the bug.
Yeah.
I think it's just his mind playing tricks on him because he's in such a state of high alert, of high adrenaline, of high nervousness, anxiety. Because when you're anxious about something, or when you're paranoid about something, your mind will distort what you see.
Yeah.
I think it's just the mind's reaction to seeing something that, or hearing something that it doesn't want to hear. And, of course, you make, like, the worst kind of, you know, inferences.
Sippy.
I like that a little bit.
Okay, good. Finally. You admit it has flavor now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was just so hot when I had it the first time
Yeah.
that it just overpowered. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, I do think he's genuinely hearing it. I don't think it's a made-up noise, but I think it's a made-up, source.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really obviously the dude is dead. And dismembered.
Misattributing the source.
Yes. The dude is dead, he's dismembered, he's under the floor. I don't think your heart beats when your arms are ripped off. That's just an inference. I've never done it myself, so I cannot say.
It's probably time for us to discuss the manner of killing.
Yeah.
Can you go up to the manner of killing?
Um...
Because we were debating this earlier, when we were reading.
Because, okay, yeah, sorry, just to go back to the heart really quick, he does hear the heart at first. Or at least he thinks he does. Because he has, like, the acute sense of hearing because he's just so honed in.
Yeah.
That when the man is asleep, I knew that sound. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage.
Here's a thing that we did not consider.
I have to pee so bad.
What if old man has an irregular heart rate?
I mean, he could.
Has a, what's it called?
Palpitations?
No.
Hollow. That's, no.
Can you turn up the song volume a little bit?
Wow. I know. That better?
Arrhythmia. Irregular heartbeat. So, if he lives with an arrhythmia, then his heartbeat could be that ting ting ting. Ting ting ting. Instead of patum, patum, patum.
Perhaps?
So, he says... So it very much could be the same sound. If the narrator specifies that it's the old man's heart, then
Which he does.
That is an implication that the old man's heart sounds different, rather than saying it was the beating of a heart. I knew
that sound. It's the that.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound. He must know it distinctively from his own heartbeat. Or their own heartbeat,
Yeah.
rather. It's not mine, it's his.
Yeah.
I can tell because of how it sounds.
It implies that the old man has a different heartbeat.
Because sometimes I think when we're in a state of adrenaline, we have that, like, your heart beating in your ears kind of thing. Where, you, like, or, like, you can, like, put your hand on your chest and you can feel your heart going, you know? Because you're in such a state of adrenaline, such a state of alert. Your heart is just pumping because it needs to get blood to the rest of your body so that you can react quickly. It's the fight or flight response.
Yeah.
But he knows it's not they know that it's not their own. It's this dude. This fucking dude in his fucking eye and his fucking heart.
Yeah.
Like the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. Ugh. So true.
But the act of killing.
There for a while. Hold on. I thought the heart might burst. Beating grew louder. Sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. I think of The Shining whenever I read that.
Yeah.
Do you know the part where Halloran goes to the hotel and Jack just hops out from behind the pillar and he goes, "Ah!" and he kills him with the axe? I think of that every time.
Yeah. I think a very interesting thing. I smiled gaily to find the deed so far done.
Oh, I do that all the time.
Taking pride in the kill.
The old man's hour. I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once. Once only. In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him. Then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes, the heart beat on with a muffled sound. This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. Yes, he was stone dead. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes. No pulsation. Stone dead. His eye trouble me more.
So, we've been debating about the actual act of the killing, as described. You think he was suffocated.
I do.
I think it was, basically blunt force trauma, based on pulled the heavy bed over him, and found the deed done.
But for many minutes, the heart beat on with a muffled sound. He is still alive under there at that point.
You know, it honestly could be both.
This, however, did not vex me. It would not be heard through the wall. At length, it ceased. That makes me think that he's, like, the bed is so heavy that he's, like, under there trying to breathe or maybe trying to struggle.
Yeah, but what if he also killed the bug at the same time?
What?
Or the bug just decided to stop talking.
What?
You think if I suffocate a bug, they die?
Eventually.
Yeah.
That's how people work.
I don't know. There was a point to that.
Well, because when you suffocate someone with a pillowcase, you hold it down over their head, and they cannot breathe. He cannot breathe. The heavy bed is on top of him.
He threw a fucking mattress on him.
He's 8,500 years old. He's
and getting a mattress thrown on you kills you. You think if I drop that mattress on you, you die? You die. Yeah, you'd slowly die from that. You wouldn't die immediately.
Because you're suffocating!
Oh, blunt force trauma, and then you die.
No! It's a mattress. It's heavy. This guy's probably 100 years old. You think he can lift that thing off of him? Probably not. He's under there suffocating.
I think it's a combined killing.
Yeah, because he's 100 years old.
I think he went to the combination suffocation...
No breathing.
The combined suffocation blunt trauma. Listen, I can tell you from recent experience that if an old person... Well, yeah, if an old person falls, they die.
Yeah.
I can tell you that from
That's true, I guess.
recent events.
I guess if you're
in my
whacked
life.
onto the floor, that'll hurt. I do think it's both, though, because I think if his heart is under the bed for so long, for many minutes, I just imagine little dude sitting on top of mattress, sitting on top of old dude, being like, alright, let's go, let's go here! I gotta pee so bad. Can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, go pee.
Alright.
Considering the lifespan of people during that time, I think the old man was significantly younger, maybe 5,000 years.
That's a good point. I'm peeing.
Yeah, tuberculosis. Oh, here's the thing. Can tuberculosis cause arrhythmia? Let's see. Life-threatening ventricular arrhythmia as first presentation of tuberculosis. Patients aged 24 to 51 presented with life-threatening ventricular arrhythmia. So yes, it is highly possible that this old man could have been suffering from tuberculosis. Between what's happening with the eye and the possibility of ocular tuberculosis and the possibility of the arrhythmia, perhaps the true cause of death was not the narrator, but Tubunculumpus. And I've made this discovery while Jasper was gone. He's gonna come back and he's gonna be like, can you catch me up on what happened?
Catch me up on what happens?
I discovered that arrhythmias can be caused by tuberculosis.
Interesting.
So there is actually a high chance that this old man was already dying of tuberculosis.
Yeah.
Between what's happening with the eye and the arrhythmia.
Big if true. Big if true. So yeah. Yeah, Henry, you brought up a good point. Old man, significantly younger. Yeah, you're probably looking at like 60, maybe.
Yeah.
That being like old. 50. Like, you know, like didn't live very long back then.
Yeah.
But yes. Okay.
I think the last thing you have written on our notes is the method of hiding the body. But we've kind of talked about that already.
Yeah. I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all the scantlings.
Between the scantlings. Scantlings
Oh.
are, they're just thick wood, that usually gets used as, like, the high pressure spots. Like, in a wall, they're known as studs, if you remember.
Yes.
Yeah. Studs are very important for hanging things like my frickin' TV that's mounted to the wall.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that you're attached to a stud so you don't just rip up the drywall. And
Yes.
it's a very similar concept when it comes to flooring.
Okay.
It is the heavy pressure points, and then you fill the distance between the scantlings with the regular floorboard. Place the board so cleverly, so cunningly that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot, whatever. I had been too wary for that. A tub had caught all. Ha ha!
You know what I find delicious about this? That, like, yeah, this is a good temporary kind of hiding. what's gonna happen in, like, if...
That shit went stinky.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if... Let's just say, for example, if... We wouldn't have a story if this happened. But if the guy got away, scot-free, and no one figured out it was him, still, that body's gonna start smelling, and probably... Melon be smelling a dead body in the floor,
yeah.
you know? And at least a day, you know? And it's just... I feel like eventually... Well, that goes to your thing. If they live together, or at least seemingly in the same building, eventually someone's gonna be like, do you fucking smell that? That's foul!
Yeah. That's the only person living there was that old man. Then nobody's gonna smell it.
But...
We have no mention of an old woman.
No, we have a mention of a neighbor, though.
Yeah.
We do have a mention of a neighbor. So...
Neighbor from possibly another building.
But still... I feel like... I don't know... Okay. And not to be morbid here, but I've never smelled a dead body. I cannot say that I have.
We have smelled dead mice.
Dead mice, yeah, but not
We've smelled dead animals in the walls.
But
that is our baseline.
A dead human being.
It has been really awesome. It's like the discussion I want to do in English class over the years, but I actually feel comfortable saying things without crippling imposter syndrome. Nervous.
No, you're absolutely
well,
welcome.
That's the point of this.
Yeah.
Like,
to have a discussion.
Breaking down those barriers that English classes put up because of all the teachers who are like, everything you have to say has to make sense. But we're kind of just throwing things out like, you know, what if it's a fucking bug? what if the reason that the ticking stopped is because he killed the bug?
Oh yeah, anyone's absolutely welcome to participate and come and hang out, hear what we have to say, and contribute if you want.
I just want to say we've got an hour and a half about Telltale Heart, a very short, straightforward story.
This story is about, it's very straightforward. It's about maybe 3.5 pages long, depending on the font.
Yeah. It's
very short.
It's got so many semantics, though.
Yeah. Like, I know we said we want to, like, talk about some of Poe's other work, too, but I think we need to dedicate whole streams. If we wanted to do something like Cask of Amontillado, I love The Mask of Red Death. I haven't read it in a while. The Raven, like, he's got some really great stuff. Amontillado deserves its own stream at some point. Yeah, there's a lot going on here, and it doesn't appear that way because, you know, it's so short. But there's a lot to look at here for sure. Hides the body in the floor, stinky, smelly. 3 men who introduced themselves, officers. But for what had I to fear? Like, I did it. Everything's fine.
The boots.
The
They're
boots.
under the
floorboards. I did it. I took the boots. Well, that's the thing. Is Mr. Krabs mad for that?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I think he just had a weak moment.
No,
I think he just had a girl boss moment, and then he realized that he made a mistake.
No. Shut up. I think he was driven mad by capitalism.
By capitalism? No. Why do you think that? He didn't want his money.
No, Mr. Krabs.
Oh, Mr. Krabs.
I think Mr. Krabs is just mad in general because of his obsession with money.
Well, that's a different stream.
That's a different stream. But I do think that.
Alright, join us for Books by Brunch next week where we break down the script of the SpongeBob episode where Mr. Krabs hides the shit under the floor. Anyway.
Do we have more to discuss about this one?
I don't know,
Because we already talked mostly about, you know, the method of killing that. You know, it's very hard to dismember somebody.
Is it?
No, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
Because you need to
It doesn't mention...
You either need very specific things like Actually, you do need bone saws in most cases, or you need the knowledge of where
Well,
bones connect.
That's what I was
so
gonna
you can
say.
cut between them.
It doesn't say.
It is incredibly difficult to chop up a body, especially inside of a what? Bathtub.
It doesn't say any weapons or like any. It doesn't say bone saw or like knives or anything. First of all, I dismembered the corpse like it's nothing. You know, me when I dismember, you know.
There's no, like, discussion of how the narrator felt
He
during
cuts off the
dismembering.
head, too!
Yeah.
You gotta go through the whole spinal column to do that!
That
like...
should mess with you mentally. But no, it's the sound.
So you're saying that the sight of this does not faze him, but the sound does. That's interesting. Well, that goes to your point about what if he's like a doctor or a surgeon or something.
That's
if you're
why
a surgeon, you're used to
there's
this.
no way
This is 3 sentences?
Yeah.
The dismemberment is 3 sentences, whereas, like, suffocating this dude with a heavy mattress is a whole paragraph?
Yeah.
This whole thing?
I'm going to say normal as in, like, a standard person in terms of, like, professional and everything. But a normal person would not be able to cut up a human body without vomiting.
Yeah.
It would bring about a violent internal reaction to the thought of cutting up another human being. But doctors don't usually have that because they are used to that.
They get used to it after a certain point. At least surgeons.
Yeah.
Certain doctors probably don't have to do that.
So this person likely was a surgeon due to being, you know, knowing how to not get blood everywhere. Being able to so seamlessly cut through the body and have no visceral reaction to it. But the sound of the ticking and the guilt is what fazed them.
Because I think when you're a surgeon, you have an obligation. There's an obligation, you're like paid to do it, you have to do it. Whereas this is act of free will. You know?
Wanna read that?
My English classes tend to be filled with people. Excuse me, I'm burping. Ugh. Filled with people who are always like, yeah, I might not have my paper done tonight a week early. I have to work on my applications to Yale and Stanford. And I always kind of felt inferior, outclassed. Like I didn't even belong in that class, even if I did well in the class. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I know you're not going to, like, a liberal arts college, but I feel like English classes when you get to college are a little different. Because you get kind of different people from walks of life. But when you're in a class with, like, people that want to be there, it can be a really enriching, you know?
Oh my god, when are we gonna do, what is it, Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal?
Oh my god!
When are we doing that shit? Oh, that one's so good. We gotta save that, though.
There's so many of these that we want to do.
Thanksgiving, we have to do that for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Because that's what we did in my class.
Yeah. There's so many pieces of literature that we want to do. So we're really excited about this.
But that's why I don't think this is the first kill.
I think it's the first kill. I don't think it's the first body chop.
Yeah. Well,
I think this guy...
Well, here's another thing. There are multiple different fields that might deal with chopping into bodies. Morticians.
That's
and
true.
undertakers.
Yeah.
If we're to assume that this narrator is from a lower wealth class, then it could make sense for them to be an undertaker, because undertakers don't make a lot of money at this time.
Now they do.
Yeah. And
you work at a funeral home, you're making big buckaroonies now.
If this person were a doctor, they would probably recognize the arrhythmia and the eye as tuberculosis. But if they are an undertaker, they would not. They would only know how to take apart the body. They would not know the diagnostics of it.
I don't know, though. I feel like this guy has to be semi-well off.
Yeah.
Because they mentioned that they don't want money. For his gold I had no desire. It's up near the beginning here. But
There we go.
Gold. For his gold, I had no desire.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just makes me think that
They have
it's
to at
not
least
like
be well enough off.
Yeah. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs like it's nothing.
I think that our narrator is somewhere in the middle class. Not enough to have to worry, but enough to, I don't know, this person doesn't have the air of a rich elite.
I don't think so.
Does that make sense? Not like the narrator of Cask of Amontillado.
No, that's very clear.
Yeah.
That's a very clear
I think
one.
upper middle, yeah.
Yeah.
But doctors at this time
You
are
gotta
upper
have,
middle.
Yeah, you gotta have some sort of understanding. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. In one sentence, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, that's, like, also an opportunity to, like, really disturb your reader.
Yeah.
And it's not
And Poe doesn't take it.
And he doesn't take it, yeah.
I think that's more disturbing.
I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs. We don't get any, like... That's entirely telling.
Yeah.
That's not, like, five sentences.
I work hastily, but in silence.
We could be getting the eyes, the ears, the nose, and the mouth here, you know, but we don't.
But we get a huge thing way at the end as to the guilt of the sound.
Yeah, this is where we get our senses, right here.
There's no guilt until there's pressure from an outside force of the officer showing up.
Yeah.
So I really don't think this is the first kill.
No, I think it is because I think that guilt wouldn't have come in either way if it was. Because he's entirely alone. He doesn't... He's like, alright, I got this. And he obviously doesn't. I think if this was something he had done before, would have gone about it in a different way. Because there are flaws in this plan, you know? And, like, not to, like, bring up examples, I don't know if Ted Bundy felt guilt, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if Dahmer felt guilt, you know? I don't know. And part of me doesn't care because they're vile human beings either way.
Well, again, my perspective of first kill isn't malicious first kill. I think that it's happened to the person. That the end of somebody's life...
How can you accidentally dismember someone, though?
I don't think the accidental dismembering, but accidentally killing somebody on some sort of surgeon table or something.
Yeah.
I think it's happened before to the narrator.
I think the guilt...
And that's why we don't go into the minute details.
I think the guilt would be different.
Yeah. Because, you know, we do get the life left his body and stuff. But that could have been way longer. So,
What, the suffocation? No,
yeah, that could have been way longer.
No pulsation.
There was no pulse. I put my hand upon his heart and held it there many minutes.
Yeah,
I don't think the average person at this time would know to check a pulse. We know that now because of TV, you know?
Yeah.
There is some sort of medical background.
Yes.
I think I'm gonna go with doctor. Surgeon. I think I'm gonna go with surgeon.
Although the Undertaker and Mortician is also not bad.
Yeah.
I just don't know if a Mortician dismembers corpses before putting them in the ground, you know?
they don't dismember them.
So that's what makes me think otherwise.
Sometimes you do, like, autopsy.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know if you dismember.
Autopsies are, like, fucking violent. You, like, break open the ribcage and fucking start ripping that shit out. Have you ever seen that?
No.
No, they
can't
like
say I have.
They have hammers to just crack open the rib cages, and then they they take out organs and they put them on scales and weigh them.
Oh.
There's a lot of, like, horrifying stuff that
people have to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
Autopsies require a lot of that. So I don't think this is the first time that our narrator has been inside of a human body.
Oh, absolutely not. It's just the question of how did that happen?
Do you feel confident calling here?
I do.
Okay.
Unless people have questions for us,
or
their own points of discussion that you'd like us to maybe
At this
consider.
point, we can now open up to everybody else's things that they might want us to go back and cover for like 10 minutes, and then we can discuss our plans going forward.
Yes. So if you have anything you want to tell us, or even like if you've talked about, you know, something like this in your English classes, or anything that those classes talked about something we didn't, or that we expanded on something that your classes didn't talk about. You know, whatever. Your theories, your kind of takeaway, or you can just talk about, like, you like this short story, because this is personally one of my fucking favorites. Probably my favorite of Poe's work. Amontillato's also up there. But this is probably my favorite. What do you think? Like, and, like, if you do, like, obviously we're gonna be doing more Poe. What other Poe works do you want us to do? Other than, like, the ones we've already talked about. We're obviously doing Amontillado at some point. I'd love to do Mask of Red Death. I'd love to do The Raven.
Well, fun fact about this October 5.
We'll have to see if we can do all of them. Obviously, things come up. And, October is my favorite month of the year, so I want to, like, you know, do any fun things possible this month.
This is this is a big outlier month, where there's 5 Saturdays and Sundays. Usually it's only 4. So we have an extra week of this than I expected.
You guys covered this way better than my 8th grade English teacher did. I'm glad.
Oh, yeah.
Means a lot to us. Yeah. And, like, also keep in mind that, like, just 20-something-year-olds. I happen to be getting a degree in English. But I'm also, you know, I'm not a teacher. We're not, Jer's a teacher for, children. But I'm not a teacher. We're just doing this because we like to talk. And to be really blunt about it, we never shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So we're just having fun, but I'm glad that if we can teach someone something, or at least show you guys something that, you know, someone else might not have looked at, I'd say we're doing our job, at least for this kind of series. But I'm glad, and ultimately this is, you know, to discuss and to learn and to view, but also to have fun. Hopefully looking at literature that is fun, at least for some people. And if we're doing, like, things that you've done in English classes, that we kind of take, you know, liberties and look at it in a slightly different way, perhaps. Jer teaching the children about Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of stuff we want to do. Obviously for October, we're gonna focus on the spooky works. So Poe, obviously, we're doing Frankenstein this month, I think. But there's also other works that we really love. We're definitely doing Shakespeare ones at some points. That's kind of my forte, is Shakespeare work. I'm getting an English degree, but the amount of Renaissance lit, Shakespeare classes, that kind of stuff that I've taken, Brit lit, I've taken many, so...
Okay, I have a potential lineup for this October. Today was Telltale Heart. Next week, Frankenstein.
Yeah!
The 16th, Task of Amontillado.
Okay, yep.
The 23rd, Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, yes! Jekyll and Hyde is so good.
And then the big one, being the day before Halloween, of Goethe's Faust versus
Dr.
Marlowe's Faustus.
Yep. Okay.
You absolutely can suggest a work or author to cover.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And not just, here in chat, but we have a chat in our Discord server now to talk about this series. You can absolutely suggest authors there. You can suggest them here. We can talk about it in the server. And keep the discussion going. In any way people see fit. I should do this once I'm able to get past my reading block for Chinese lit. The Metamorphosis! Holy shit, yes! Oh, my good friend Gregor Samsa. I love the Metamorphosis, and by that I mean I hate it.
Henry, we'll send you a message in a little bit. We actually were talking about something a couple days ago, and we wanted to talk to you about it.
Yes, we do. Not for October, but at some point. But yes, I'd love to do the Metamorphosis. Jer's never read it.
I've never read it.
You've never read the Metamorphosis, and that's wild to me. Absolutely wild to me. Yeah, the Metamorphosis is fun. So we will absolutely do the Metamorphosis at some point. My good friend Gregor Sam.
Well, yeah, of course we want to.
Oh my God, Lord of the Flies!
We
One
should
of my
try and
favorite
make
novels.
thematic months. Obviously for the Christmas season, we should cover like fucking Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
By Charles Dickens.
Yep.
It's hard to do a lot of Dickensian work because he is very long-winded.
He is long-winded.
Whereas Poe really pioneered the term short story.
Yeah, for sure. All kinds of stuff. Dracula.
Yes.
Neither of us have read Dracula.
So that's why that one has to wait a little bit.
That one, yeah. I think until I finish this semester, I want to try to focus on, for at least me, works that I've read before or am going to read.
Well, that's why I
have so much shit I gotta read for school.
In planning,
you tried to look at works that we've already read?
I tried to look at works that we've already read or we can read by that time.
Yeah.
Like sandwiching it between.
Yeah.
So, like, we have to read Cask of Amontillado.
I've already read it.
But not recently.
No, I read it maybe half a year ago.
Okay. I haven't read it since high school. So, revising that would be good. So, sandwich Frankenstein between. I just read it a year and a half. And then, Jekyll and Hyde you read recently, but that's also short, so I can read that.
Jekyll and Hyde's very short, yeah.
And then putting Faustus at the end of the month so we have plenty of time to get to them.
Yeah. What
we might have to do is each of us might have to read one version. I might have to read Goethe's Faust, you Marlowe's Dr. Faust.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff we want to do. I was gonna say something and I forgot what I was gonna say. I don't know. Yeah, and we also want to do some, like, modern stuff, too. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. I know you've never read this, but I have. Gotta do a stream about 1984.
Yeah.
We have to. I actually 1984 really stuck with me. And I'd love to do more. That's what I was gonna mention. I also think about a lot of these works, that we're gonna be looking at, including, like, the Telltale Heart, Lord of the Flies, Metamorphosis, Dr. Faustus, anything Shakespeare. I just want to give a shout out to the English professors that we've had that have really influenced a lot of what we're bringing to the table. I don't want to name names, but I can think of like 4 very influential English professors in my life that have gotten me to where I am today. And I hope that we're making them proud. You probably know what I'm talking about. If you've ever had a bad English professor, I'm so sorry for your loss. Because I've had some absolutely phenomenal English professors who make me fall in love with the English degree every time I go into class.
Yeah.
And it's a real joy. I have 2 of those professors right now.
Yeah.
And every time I go to class, I'm just so excited to talk and learn and read, which I used to not be able to do.
We might have to do is we might have to take novels and
break them up.
Yeah. So, like
1984 is a big one.
Yeah.
Lord of the Flies. I haven't read Lord of the Flies in a very long time.
We're gonna have to do units.
Yeah.
For a lot of these. With Shakespeare plays, those are much easier because odds are you probably know it. But with these bigger things,
I'm so familiar with so many Shakespeare.
We can do those as a book club, and we could be like, all right, if we're gonna cover this,
we're gonna chapters 1 to 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, just as an example.
Because there's no way to read a whole book in a week. No.
Yeah, no. Especially with other commitments. My English professors were amazing, and my first semester professor was the one who actually was a catalyst for my passion in academic reading. Sure, for sure. I know I've heard horror stories about some people's experiences with classes. Sometimes it's the people in them, and sometimes it's the professor or the teacher. Fahrenheit 451.
I was thinking that.
I don't like Fahrenheit 451, but I'm willing to talk about it. I'm willing to talk about it, and I know you like it.
Have you read it for fun before?
I have not read it for fun before, and that's a good point, too, because sometimes when you read something for fun, you develop kind of a better understanding of it, or a more appreciative understanding of it.
I read Frankenstein for fun.
Yeah.
Gatsby, yeah.
Gatsby, I love Gatsby. I was just gonna suggest something else.
So what we might want to do is we might want to do, like 1 month short stories, 1 month novel, 1 month short stories, 1 month novel.
Something
back
like
and
that.
forth.
For lack of a better, we're also gonna do, doesn't have to be just novels.
Plays.
There's gonna be plays. We're absolutely doing a stream about Angels in America at some point. We're doing one about The Inheritance. I think, there are some... I think we could even, at some point, if there are accesses to, the scripts, maybe doing some movies, analyzing movie scripts, obviously, with only so much.
Yeah. When does Angels in America take?
1990?
No, season.
Oh, I don't know. I have the script for Angels in America at home, though.
Look at Rent.
I have the script of Rent, yeah. That's a good Christmas one. That's a good Christmas one.
We can look at plays for Christmas.
Yeah. Christmas Carol, Rent, obviously.
But anyway, thank you all for joining us.
This was awesome. Thank you,
I need to go take medication.
Yes.
Before
I
throw up.
We will be back live again tomorrow for Splatoon, I think.
Yes.
I got shit I gotta do for school, so we can't, sit here all day, or otherwise we would. But we can talk about this more in the Discord server if people like. We really appreciate people being here. Haven't read Telltale Heart, please go do so. It's a real joy. Obviously, we aren't able to do a reading of it, otherwise we would. Go support the Poe Museum. They're located in Virginia, and they are working to preserve a lot of Edgar Allen Poe's work and keep it relevant, which is cool. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. We're gonna raid somebody. I thought Jade.
Is Jade live?
I thought she was. I don't see her live anymore, though. That's okay. Alright. Have a good night.
Yes,
have a
there
good
we
day.
go.
Yes, Captain Ipez. I haven't rated him.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you guys. Have a good one. We love you all, and we'll be back tomorrow for Splatoon 3. Be on the lookout for other streams this week. And we're doing Frankenstein next week, baby. Let's go!
Bye!
Bye!